get started taking our props with us. We won't use them right off the bat, and sitting in a comfortable position on your mat. So if you are totally uncomfortable sitting on the floor, you can choose to sit on a chair or even sit up against the wall, have something for a little bit of support behind you. You can also choose to have your legs out in front of you. So I just want you guys to find a comfortable position to check in with your body before we get into some of our bigger movements. So as you sit here on the mat, imagine your spine lifting and growing taller, as though someone has a little string on the top of your head and they're pulling the top of your head up to the ceiling. And once you find that comfortable seat, go ahead and blink your eyes closed. Take this moment to check in and see how your body feels today in this moment, knowing that that might be different even than how your body felt this morning or how it will feel after this class, and that there's not a right or wrong way for your body to feel. You're just here to notice it. So as you're noticing any spots of tension, maybe any differences from side to side, scan your body from the tippity top of your head all the way down to your toes. And as you're scanning your body, can you imagine your spine growing even an inch taller, maybe an inch longer? Feeling your shoulders dropping down away from your ears and starting to relax and melt away. And starting to take note of your breath. Notice where your breath is going. Almost imagine the air is being colored and see if you can visualize where that air is going into your lungs. Remember that your lungs, they actually start all the way up high by our neck and they go down towards the bottom of our rib cage, which is down. You can even go ahead and feel your own ribs here. It's often lower than what we might expect. So imagining the breadth and the width of your lungs, see if you can use that full dimension of your lungs by starting with your breath, breathing down low into your belly, breathing even wide out to the side or maybe even into your back. And when you exhale, feel your rib cage and your lungs start to get smaller as you blow the air out, feeling the contraction of some of the muscles around your rib cage, helping to get rid of some of the last little bit of air that hangs in your lungs. Try a couple more breaths like this. I encourage you to try taking your inhale breath in through your nose and your exhale breath out through your mouth, as though you are trying to blow a stream of air to a target right in front of you. We focus on this breath pattern because many of the muscles in our neck and shoulders can assist with breathing, but it's very difficult for them to assist in that pattern of breathing. And we actually want, of course, in this class, our neck and shoulder muscles to get to relax. We want to try and use maybe some of the muscles of our rib cage and our belly to help with our breathing a little bit more. We'll try twice more, taking big, deep inhale breaths in and gently releasing back out. Good. Once more like that. And then breathing and feeling all of the air release. Good. Now we're going to take this into some movement. I have a progression for those of you who have been practicing this class regular with me. But if you have not, we're going to start with some shoulder circles. Now in the shoulder circles, I want you to exaggerate the size of your movement, but I also want you to continue to think about that breath pattern. As we fatigue or focus on something different than our breath, sometimes we start to slump, and that slumping position actually makes it very difficult to use our rib cage and our belly to assist with breathing. It can contribute to an overuse of neck and shoulders. For those of you who've taken this class regularly, you can bring your hands behind you and draw those same circles by pushing your hands into the floor. Having that point of contact puts a little bit more body weight into this movement and may be a little bit more challenging. So if that feels like too much for class right now, stick with these regular shoulder rolls. We're going to go ahead and reverse those circles here. Same thing if your hands are down on the mat. And our goal here is to just bring some blood flow, intentionally using some of the muscles that are tight and stiff. And our goal there is what we would call active release. So using the muscles, bringing heat and warmth to actually help the muscle release. And sometimes that active release can be more effective than just a static stretch. So just holding a stretch with your muscles cold. We'll try 2 more just like this. And one more time here, and let the shoulders relax and drop down. Now, before we take ourselves down onto the mat for a little deepening of our stretch, I want to talk in a little more detail about breath. So we think of our breath for the most part as being symmetrical, and even in both of our lungs, that's not always the case. And that can be due to restrictions in the mobility of our ribs, our upper back, and even our shoulders. So we're going to take a little note of that now as a test and then relook at it at the end of class today. So if you open up your arms, take up space, you're going to place your left hand on the floor, reach and dive your right arm up and over. Now, if this is quite uncomfortable for your shoulder, add a soft bend to your elbow. Think of stretching your side body here more than anything. If your neck bothers you, pull your head back in space just slightly. And I want you to focus on breathing from your right rib cage, as though when I take a breath in, my rib is lifting to the ceiling, and when I blow out, my rib is dropping to the left side. So take that breath in and breath out. And I know that's subtle. I hope you guys can see that a little bit here. This takes practice and it takes focus and intention. And if this is a side that feels really hard for you, that's okay. Notice it. We're going to recheck at the end of class. One more time here. And release. Good. We'll come back through the center, now placing the right hand on the floor, diving the left arm up and over, focusing on your breath from the side of your left rib cage. So almost imagine this arcing up and over. You can keep a soft bend in your left elbow if needed. Take your inhale, open and breathe. Exhale to gently release. So I don't know if you guys can sense that this side is a little bit easier for me. I have a little bit more range of motion, and that may be different for your body, which is fine. Just notice it, and I'll cue you in when we're going to work on this a little bit later in class. We'll try one more time. And then come all the way back through the center. The great thing about breath work is that it can help so many things. We're focusing, of course, on how it can help our neck and our shoulder pain, but it can help with low back pain. It can also help improve your respiratory capacity, which is so important for everyone right now, especially as we're dealing with contagious diseases all around our country. So breath is helpful in so many different ways. We're going to take our towel now, or t-shirt if you're using a t-shirt, and use that to help our stretching. So I'll fold mine in half. Go ahead and roll up your towel or t-shirt to create a little log roll like so. I'll show you, ours is going to go right between your shoulder blades along the length of your spine. We're going to lie down. So I just wanted to show you guys that position. I like to rest my towel roll down first. It should be parallel with your mat. If you're using weights, just make sure they're next to you so that you can access them in this setup. And then we're going to lie down on your back so that that towel roll falls right between your shoulder blades. Now, if you're currently experiencing any low back discomfort, I recommend that you bend both of your knees, and right away you imagine the space from the bottom of your, or rather the top of your hips and the bottom of your rib cage getting smaller. So that will help to protect your lower back and focus the stretch to your upper back. At the same time, see if you can add a gentle tuck to your chin. So I had a question last week about numbness or tingling between the shoulder blades in this position. Oftentimes that happens because the chin is too high here. So think of drawing your chin down, which makes the back of your neck a little bit longer. And take a moment to settle in, especially if you've done a lot of sitting this morning. This can be tight and restricted. So let your body just gently get accustomed to this posture. And when you're ready, you can allow your arms to open out to the side, taking a gentle stretch. You should feel that stretch here right across the front of your chest. If you don't, you can walk your hands up a little bit higher until you do feel that stretch. And it's normal here to have one arm that's maybe more flexible than the other. So your two arms do not have to be symmetrical here. So you can have one higher than the other to ensure that you get a good stretch on both sides. So just notice that. Continue to draw the space between your ribs and hips closer together and lengthen the back of your spine. Making sure that you're still using that pattern of breathing we practiced before. So taking your inhale breath in through the nose and an exhale breath out through the mouth. That can help quite a bit, especially if this position feels a little bit stressful or intense for your body. It can help your body relax and melt into this posture. So what we're doing here is focusing on stretching our upper back to help the alignment of our shoulder blades. So our shoulder blades, you can picture them like angel wings on our back or chicken wings. Our shoulder blades provide stability for our shoulders. So if you're someone who perhaps lacks range of motion in the shoulder or gets pinching or pain as they lift their arm up high, that often has to do with the alignment of your shoulder blades. So we're going to practice that today a little bit here. So if you would like, you can grab your weights for this exercise. You don't need them. You can follow along without weights if you don't have them. So taking one of your weights in each of your hands, you're going to reach your fingertips up to the ceiling so that your palms face one another. With your palms facing one another, your elbows are mostly straight. I want you to drop the back of your shoulders towards the mat. You might even feel your shoulder blades hugging the towel roll behind you, and you can try and intentionally find that here. Notice that when I did that, my elbows didn't bend, so I'm just moving my shoulder blades. Now I'm going to punch the weight up to the ceiling, taking the shoulder blades off my back, and then drop them back down. Shoulder blades come together. So this is a movement called scapula are our shoulder blades, scapular protraction and retraction. And that's the ability of the shoulder blades to rest firmly on our back versus being pulled away off our back. That position of having our shoulder blades resting on our back is where our shoulder is the most stable. And you might even feel that with your own body, how the weights wiggle around a little bit more when you lift them up. When you pull the shoulder blades back, you might feel a little bit more solid and connected. We'll try 3 more times here. And 2 more times, good. And then last time, just hold the shoulder blades against that towel roll so they are on the mat. You might also notice how one side is harder than the other, and that's fine, just notice it. Now, see if you can keep your shoulder blades hugging that towel roll behind you, dropping your arms to tap them up, and then lifting them back up. We're just lifting them up right now to the height of our shoulders. And this height of our shoulders means that we should be able to lift our arms without really changing the position of our shoulder blades a lot. And we're going to try this when we're sitting up in just a moment, but it's a little bit easier to feel what happens at your shoulder blades when you're laying on your back. So go really slow. Alternatively, I want you to notice if, as you do this, your shoulders have hiked by your ears. Take a moment to create space between your ear and your shoulder. Reset and draw the shoulder blades to gently hug that towel or t-shirt behind you, and then go back to your movements here. Good. We'll try just 3 more. And last 2. Good, guys. Once more here. And then you can drop your weights down and open back up into that stretch. Hopefully you feel a little bit looser here after using the muscles. If you would like to add movement to this stretch, you can draw a snow angel. So that's sweeping your arms by your side all the way up overhead and down by your hips, trying to keep your hands on the floor as long as you can. Now, if that's uncomfortable for your body, just hold that static stretch, practicing your breath pattern as you take your inhale breath in through your nose and an exhale breath out through your mouth. And we'll hold here for just 1 more breath before we reset into our second position. Good. So from here, go ahead and gently roll to your side and press yourself on up. Now, I give that roll to the side as an intentional way to set up, especially if you have neck pain. So it can be quite stressful to sit up like a zombie. You may even see the muscles in the front of your neck tighten. It's really not stressful to simply roll to your side and use your arms to press yourself on up. So think of that as a little trick, especially if you're someone who wakes up in the morning with neck pain. So we're going to take that towel roll now against our spine once again, but this time perpendicular. So it'll go across our shoulder blades on our back, similar setup, but just going perpendicular. So you can rest that towel roll down. We're going to lie onto our back once again, finding that same setup. And I do recommend for this one, holding your head in your hands. Again, if you have any low back discomfort, recommend bending your knees and closing the space between your ribs and hips. So the same form cues that we discussed in the last exercise. So again, this is a position of thoracic extension, so your upper back extension. If you can picture the way that our shoulder blades, they're flat bones, they like to be able to rest on our back when it's relatively flat. If our upper back is rounded forward, which I think many of you can imagine, that's the position we get in when we sit, it makes it very hard for our shoulder blades to sit flush on our back. So we're kind of working into that opposite posture here to arch our upper back and practice building mobility. If you guys would like to add in some shoulder movement, you can open your arms wide out to the side, like you're a chicken flapping its wings. And this position here is a setup of external rotation for the shoulders. So once again, you may notice a difference in range of motion from side to side. It's just something to notice. This is your shoulders external rotation. Good. We'll try 3 more times just like this. Good, guys. Last 2. And 1 more time here. Good. And then we'll gently roll to the side. Once again, here's your moment of practice. My neck is not stressed, just rolling to the side. And then I'm going to press myself on up to the seated position. Okay, so we talked about the shoulder blade alignment. We moved our shoulders around. We're going to test that out in a couple different positions. So the first one is up and sitting. Again, you can sit in a chair or down on the floor. I'll use my hands here to mimic what your shoulder blades look like. So if you can imagine my 2 hands as shoulder blades on your back, what we're going to practice here is called a scapular squeeze. It's a very simple exercise, but in sitting, I want you to try and draw your shoulder blades together. If you notice, as I draw my shoulder blades together, they are actually slightly pulling downward as well. So I always like to imagine that I am tucking my shoulder blade into my opposite back pocket. Okay, so this is the movement of the shoulder blades. What that looks like as I squeeze is a very gentle pull back. And I hope that this feels a little easy, especially after all that mobility work we just did. Things to watch for here. As I'm squeezing my shoulder blades back, it's very tempting to push the neck forward. I want you to imagine that you are sitting up against a wall, moving just the shoulder blades in isolation. Alternatively, you may find your rib cage popping forward, so I'll exaggerate here. You want the rest of your spine to be totally still as you move the shoulder blades. And that might make your movement smaller. That's okay. This doesn't have to be big. You should feel little muscles right along the side of your spine in between your shoulder blades start to wake up a little bit. If you're not feeling that, you're feeling your neck here, notice if your shoulders have hiked up by your ears. Take a moment, reset, drop the shoulders away from your ears. This is a backward and slightly downward movement. I sometimes like to imagine that my armpits smell here and I'm almost trying to hide them from the world. Sometimes that can help to depress the shoulder blades as opposed to elevate them and crunch our neck. We'll try about 4 more here, 3 more, 2, and last time here. Good. Now, if you sit at an office chair for most of your day, that is one of my favorite exercises that you can do. It takes like 10 seconds to do a couple repetitions of that. And it's a great reminder to take the pressure out of your neck and sit with better posture. So keep that in mind. We're going to try that same movement now with some added weight. So if you would like to progress and build, grab your weights. If that felt really tricky and challenging, I want you to just try a second set of that same exercise. So what we're going to do here is hold the weights with our elbows bent, trying the same exercise. Okay, so now your arms may have to work a little bit harder. We're not really moving the weights very much. If anything, they might shift backwards about an inch as we work. Now, for those of you who've been practicing my class, this one gets much trickier. You can also hold the arms out in front of you. My thumbs are pointing up to the ceiling. My elbows are straight. I'm pulling my shoulder blades back and forward, back and forward. Same form cues from the front. I'm trying not to pull up by my ears. I'm keeping my shoulders down. I'm also not, as I pull here, bending my elbows, okay? The movement is not from my arm, but from the shoulder blade. And this is really tricky here. So if you need to come back to that bent elbow posture, or maybe drop your weights and practice the same thing, we'll do 2 more here. And last time, good, and drop your arms down. Now, I promise you we have some stretching coming, and I hope you guys see why we want to use the light weights. The weights get very heavy when you hold your arms out and away in that long lever. So we're going to build in one last piece. If you worked with your elbows bent or without weights, I don't want you to use any weights for this set. If you were able to complete this exercise with the weights, you can give this one a try. So we're all going to set up with our thumbs pointing up to the ceiling, our arms straight out in front of us. We're retracting, pulling the shoulder blades onto the back and gluing them there. Now, without taking the shoulder blades off the back, see if you can tap the floor and lift up. So if you imagine I took a rubber band, I tied your 2 shoulder blades together. I want you to see if you can keep them together as you lift. And maybe you drop the weights and just practice the movement patterning. So this is the start of how to lift your arms without getting pinching or pain at the top of your shoulder as you move. Keeping your neck tall, look at one thing that's not moving. Good, 3 more. And 2. And last time here, excellent, and shake it out. Whew. Nice job, guys. So set your weights off to the side. I promised you that we would get a little bit of stretching in, a little bit of neck work. We have one more movement pattern that will take us into our stretch, and that's to be on the all fours position. If you know you have any wrist discomfort, we're talking about that today, but you can roll up your mat a couple of extra times to give yourself some padding. So we're going to set up here in the all fours position with your fingertips spread wide. Your shoulders are approximately on top of your wrist. If you have a lot of wrist discomfort, I want you to shift your body weight backward just slightly so that your shoulders are behind your wrist by a tiny bit. Now we're going to do that shoulder blade movement here with our hands on the ground. So what that means is without bending your elbows, can you drop your shoulder blades together and then push them apart? Drop your shoulder blades together and push them apart. Try 3 more times just like that, feeling out the movement between your shoulder blades. You may even get some cracking or popping in your upper back by doing this. Last time here, good, and then settle somewhere right into the middle. Now in this position, we're going to take this into our stretch, but I want you to try to keep the shoulder blades together-ish on your back. So we're going to reach the left arm up to the ceiling, gently gazing towards our left hand, threading and reaching your left hand underneath your right one, letting your head, neck, and shoulders fall onto the mat. Draw your shoulder blades together and push into your right hand, gently opening up to the side. Exhale as you twist, lowering the left arm under the right one, letting your head, neck, and shoulders rest down. And then gently coming back on up. I will show you guys from the front. You can continue with that same pattern here. So I'm actually letting my right elbow bend as I let my head, neck, and shoulders rest down. For those of you who mentioned or noticed that they felt a difference in the breathing that we did in the beginning from one side to the other, this is what helps to even that out. We'll try twice more here. Good, guys. Last time, reach up and open, gently dive, lowering down. We're gonna hold for a breath. As you hold down, focus on breathing wide into the sides of your rib cage, drawing your shoulder blades together. And then we'll come back to the center and set up for that second side. So reset, you can draw the shoulder blades towards one another, lift your ribs away from the floor, right arm reaches to the ceiling and gently dives through, letting your head, neck, and shoulders rest down. Pull and rotate, reaching the right hand to the ceiling, draw the shoulder blades together and gently rotate, twisting and gazing over towards the left side. We have 3 more here, moving comfortably at your own pace. If you choose to just gently hold this stretch, that's okay here as well. Last 2. And gently rotate to twist. Excellent, guys. Last time, we're gonna hold here at the bottom, taking that stretch and a big breath in through the ribs and the nose. And then gently come on up and we will find a seated position. So finding your comfortable seat, whether that's up in a chair or down on the mat, we're just gonna gently recheck that side bending mobility, loosening up the shoulders and neck at the same time. So open up your wingspan here. You can gently dive your left hand to the floor, breathing up into the right side of your body. We'll hold here, taking one deep breath in through the nose and then out through the mouth. And then draw your right hand down, reaching the left arm up and over. Try the same thing, taking that big deep breath in through the nose and a deep breath out through the mouth. We'll come back through the center and finish with one breath together here with both of your shoulders relaxed down. Hands can rest on your thighs or by your side. Taking a big breath in, growing up taller and longer. And then exhale, releasing out, letting go of some of that stale air in the bottom of your lungs. And give yourself a little pat on the back for all the movement you've done today.